doing. Today, I am very thankful that we have Joshua joining us, and he will bring us some awareness about the Heartfulness Way. What's the book about the Heartfulness Way, and about and the thought. So let me.
你不能咯，我的 headset 有可能不到哦。
Oh, and probably those that okay. This is
My
very
God.
funny joke as well. Okay. For those that in English, I think if you are not speaking, we will mute. I will go through some of the agenda later so you then know where we are and anticipate it. Okay, let me go to the second one. This is the book that we wanted to share. It is called The Heartfulness Way, a heart-based meditation for spiritual transformation. Joshua is the author for this book, and Kamlesh Patel, which is Daji, he also the co-author for this book as well, and we are very I'm very happy to get Joshua in here. He's people of wisdom, and a bit of introduction. I just read it through here, and probably later I will give Joshua some time to introduce himself. So Joshua Pollock is an co-author for best-selling book The Heartfulness Way. He also a passionate meditation proponent of meditation. He do lectures and conduct programs for companies like Amazon, Google, Expedia, Oracle, Infosys, Microsoft, and World Bank, and United Nations. Oh, the list is very long. Let me cut short. And Columbia University. And he also been featured in news like ABC, NBC, CBS in the US. And as part, he also a violinist and soloist and chamber of musician. And also he been helped a scores of Indian film composer A.R. Rahman and also Ganjini and Delhi Six. So there's this all about Joshua. And before I move to Joshua, I just want to talk about Lashmi. Also, Lashmi is also one of the brainchild of the program that we have today. And Lashmi has been with us in Intel for some time. I think 3 to 4 years back. And he is a coach for the Heartfulness meditation and also the Heartfulness organization. So he's an self-employed practitioner lawyer. If you have anything, please reach out to Lashmi. I believe that she can be helpful. If not, she knows someone that can help you. All right. Joshua, probably
Thank
you
you,
can
Willie.
introduce yourself a bit for the audience. I believe that most people doesn't really know you very well yet.
Right. I mean, I don't know what else to say after you introduced me so generously. Um, I live in New Delhi, actually, in India. I'm here with my wife. I have 2 children, a boy age 3, a girl age 7, and I practice meditation. There's not much more to say. I'm from the U.S. There we go. I'm from the U.S. I'm from the state of Maine, actually, in the U.S.
Okay.
And I visited, and about a year ago, I did a program at Intel in San Diego, in the U.S. I don't know. You said there's some people from the U.S. on this call. Maybe there's somebody from San Diego. I
Anyone
don't
from the
know.
US?
But I was
Say
there.
Yeah,
hi
I
to
think,
Joshua.
yeah, Joshua, I'm here from Folsom. We did once, I think, 2 years ago
Yes,
here in
yes, that's
Folsom.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Hello.
Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Nice to see you.
And Lashmi, you want to
Hear
say
you.
a few words? Yeah, introducing yourself.
I mean, you've already introduced me. So I just want to say that in this last 3 years, while we were having these sessions in meditation sessions and Intel, I could see a lot of progress and a lot of willing participants. And even now during this pandemic, trust me, all of them are meditating remotely. And we are just doing it every day. And we have been doing it in the last 14 days. And I think reading this book will bring out the better part of you.
Mm.
So, and most of us have it in Intel. We have a copy in Intel. It's also available for, you can always get it from the organizer who, I believe he is in the session today, and he is C.H. Pang actually.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Right.
Okay. All right. now we are going to move into the gist of what we are doing today, and I said it earlier, so I tried to turn on my webcam. It is optional for you to turn on. I believe that it's better for us to really see people live and to see where we are. Also, it is optional if you feel that you wanted to turn it on and we ask question, people can know where you are and stuff like that. Because I tell just now, the only people that I see for the few weeks is just my wife and my son, so no one else. So I say that it probably is good that to turn on webcam so that we can see a bit of different places, faces from different places. And before we go into the session, I will brief through you this. There's three ground rules that I put in here that let's all obey this one so that we can do this session a much more better. So the ground rule number one, if I can click the slide. Okay, the ground number one is just put yourself in mute if you doesn't if you don't require to speak, or there's a speaking session here. So if you are calling from the phone, there's a small mute button on the bottom. I think the beside the video, you can mute that first. If you want, you really need to talk, and then we will unmute you. And we also have my team members here. They will monitor around and observe if someone that really forget to unmute yourself, they will go in and mute it for you. And if you really need to talk, just unmute yourself again. So rule number two is actually just to reiterate again, relax and pay attention, learn, and that's the best way for us to learn. And above all, just have fun doing the learning right now. And the third rule will be just remember the rule number one and number two, and we should be covered everything. Have fun and have a good learning. Okay? and and now we are going to enter the second agenda for today. It will be a panelist session with Joshua, and this will take approximate maybe 45 minutes each. And if you finish early, we end earlier. If we think it's fairly interesting to get to know more, we will drag it a bit long. So, and then after this, Joshua will have a life experience for us, and then we will keep that. And finally, during the end of everything, we will do an Q&A session. And you guys are encouraged to ask questions that you have about the books and about Joshua as well. Okay? So, Joshua, I think just now, I will stop sharing. Okay, if I how to return presenter view. Okay. So when I have introduced you to uh, the people around, and I want to ask you, I think this you are one of the first speaker author that we bring up to the book club event. I think you are the first one, and
Oh,
you will be
really?
always in
Okay.
our record to be the first one. And I normally ask about what they get from the book, but for you, I wanted to ask about what is your purpose and inspiration of ready to write the Heartfulness Way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's an interesting question. Um, so okay, I have two answers actually. There's two sides of this. The first one is that I have always, for as long as I can remember, I've been interested in meditation because I had the opportunity of reading about meditation and other kinds of spiritual paths from a young age because my father had many books in the house. In my family there was a great importance placed on books and literature and and literacy. And because of that there was a large library. And it was very broad in terms of the subject matter. And there were many books on various religions and mysticism and philosophy, many things like that. And I was always drawn to those books in particular, right? And and so many of them I found, came back to this idea of meditation. So I was always very interested in meditation. And then by the time I was in my late teens and early 20s, I had, been exploring certain forms of meditation. But I hadn't been having so much luck with them, I have to say. So I was very convinced in the abstract sense. I was very convinced by the principle and the ideas, but I wasn't convinced by the practice. I struggled. You know, a lot of people who try meditation say, "Oh, I just struggled through meditation."
Mm.
So that was my experience at first. And when I finally kind of came upon the kind of meditation that I am now practicing and the kind that I wrote about, what we call heartfulness meditation, that happened so much by accident. You know, that happened, I think I mentioned it in the introduction of the book too, where I was just sort of walking down the street and got in just a random chat with someone at the side of the road, you know, standing outside a store, a grocery store kind of thing, a deli store. And, yeah, and this is in the US. And that person had just started trying this sort of meditation and had mentioned it to me. And we were just talking about meditation a bit. And, you know, I was recommending, oh, go see this person who taught me this. So I did. So that's how I came upon it. And it seemed so unlikely, and in one way it seemed so unlikely, you know, that I had to find it in such a way, just by talking to someone at the side of the road, you know. So I felt, wouldn't it be easier if people can find such a, and then I had such a wonderful experience with this meditation, is what I want to add. It really changed my whole thing and became much easier, and it became, I mean, wonderful in every way. So my idea, you know, years later was that for years I had thought it would be so nice if people had an easier time finding out about this, you know? And so the idea was that, my idea wasn't that I should write a book about it. My idea was that somebody should write a book about it. My idea was that someone should come along and, you know, write a wonderful book that would be read by many people and available at least to many people, so that anybody who wanted to find out about this kind of meditation would have the opportunity to do so. They wouldn't have to rely on chance meetings on the street to do so. And then in the end, it turned out to be me who wrote the book. It wasn't somebody, you know, it was that somebody was me. And the reason that somebody was me was because my co-author is also my teacher, my meditation teacher, right? And one day he called me up in the morning and he said, "I'd like you to write a book about meditation." And I'm not a writer, I'm a musician. So I was sort of shocked by this question, this request. But I said, sure. And so that's how it came about, actually. You know, I was also surprised that he didn't write it himself. That he asked me to write. So in the end, actually, we both wrote it, because I asked him. He said, "Well, let's do it together." I was trying to convince him that he was a better person to be the author of such a book. So that's how it became a book of dialogue. And I like that it's a book that's sort of that's dialogue, question and answer, because just by accident it ended up it's a book about yoga and meditation. Not yoga in the physical sense, where you're doing hatha yoga, where you're doing asanas and stretches. It's not about that. Yoga, Raja Yoga, which means yoga which deals with your mind, which deals with your inner system, not your body as much. But in that sense, because it's about yoga, I find that the old tradition of yoga is so many texts that are in dialogue between a teacher and the student. So quite accidentally, it ended up fitting into that tradition in a way, in a dialogue between the teacher and the student.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Joshua, when you talk about meditation and stuff like that, I'm just maybe for those that not familiar with this thing, this is a very strong word itself. And in the call, we have people from a diverse background, culture, religion, and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you, the next question is that what is about the myth when people say being heartfulness or being mindfulness or whatever you call it in kind of meditation, how that will be related to is it very religion-ish, or is that very culture specific, or is it I just wanted to know your thought on that myth of on the meditation and heartfulness mindfulness that we have talked about, just to give people a bit people of the
Sure.
diverse background.
Okay, well, when you meditate, I think we have to look at meditation very broadly, okay? So that means the way that we can define meditation is that when you're thinking continuously about one thing, in a way, or your mind is settled on one object of thought. Okay? Now, as you can see, this is a very broad definition. So inherently, it has nothing to do with religion or, anything in particular, or any one method versus any other method, right? It just means you're thinking about one thing. So that means that, therefore, everybody is a meditator already, without trying to be a meditator, without sitting cross-legged and closing your eyes. Anybody who is preoccupied with anything is meditating, and especially one that's led by the heart. It's difficult and taxing to think about something, to force yourself to think about something. When you have a project for work, right, and you're focused on it so much, you're forcing yourself because you have a deadline, and you're taxing your mind. You don't say, oh, I feel so meditative, right? You're not feeling so peaceful, though your mind is thinking about one thought now, or one topic, right? But let's say that one thought is being guided by the heart instead. Let's say you've fallen in love with somebody, yeah? And at that moment, because of your heart's feelings, your thoughts go in one particular direction, towards the object of your love, towards that person whom you are in love with, right? And now you're thinking of that person all the time, because your heart is pushing you towards that, right? So that's also meditation in a sense, right? That's a more natural meditation because it's happening spontaneously, right? Rather than the sort of meditation where you're thinking about one thing because you're forcing yourself to or being forced to, right? So if you look at meditation like that, as thinking about one thing, and then whether it's being done in a forced way or in a spontaneous way is the next question. And then the third and maybe most important condition, which changes the nature of meditation, is what is the object or the thought upon which you are meditating? That changes everything. That really, you can compare it. There's an example in the book also. A person can drink whiskey, or a person can drink water. Now, the act of drinking is the same in both cases. But what are you drinking? Whether you drink water or you drink whiskey, the effect is going to be very, very different, right? Though the act of putting the glass to your lips will be the same. So similarly, meditation, this sort of settling of your mind on one idea, will be the same. But that one idea, what is the nature of that idea? That will change the quality of your meditation, and in some way will change the quality of your own self. So, am I meditating on something? It depends what the purpose of my meditation is. The object of my meditation can ennoble me. It can be something very sublime. It can be something I can aspire to become, much better. Or the thing that I'm focusing on can be so negative that it can transform me in a negative way. It can make me angry. I can just be brooding over the wrongs that somebody has done, or my bitterness towards life. So based on that, it will change me, but in which direction? So we have to choose an object where it happens it's a very positive thing, and where it happens in a very natural way.
Joshua,
So that's what this method is about.
sorry to interrupt you. I probably will interrupt you.
Nope, I'm finished.
Joshua, when you most people here are engineers, okay? When you talk
Yes.
about first is the object that you are going to meditate. Like you mentioned about us doing a work. If we are focused in doing a work, that may be a kind of meditation in a very general form that we are focusing on something, and then you
Yes.
mentioned about the quality of it. So as an engineer, we normally wanted to know how can we measure the quality of it. If, for example, even
Uh,
we drink a water, how is that? I drinking the water today, or drink the water tomorrow. How can I improve the quality of drinking water? What's your thought on that? I mean,
well, you have to be able to measure it, which means you have to have some feedback, right? I mean, you're meditating, that's fine, but it can't be based on faith. You have to have some sort of immediate feedback to be able to say, yes, this has some quality or not. Otherwise, you won't be able to measure it. If you're not able to perceive it, you won't be able to measure it.
mm,
And that means you have to be able to experience something immediately.
mm,
So that's how this you have to. It's through your own experience that you'll be able to judge it,
mm,
right? Not through anything else.
mm. Okay, all right.
So this isn't about anything except for your own experience,
Okay.
right?
I think I have one experience question to you through this end. It will be
Mm,
a good discussion. But just jump in a bit to the book that you wrote itself. Generally, there's three main sections in the book. If you can correct me if I'm
mhm,
wrong. So this is how you split it about. And there is the first will be the heartfulness, and probably the next will be the practice, and third will be the guru of that. So, and I think the heartfulness we be talking about that one. And when I just quote this interesting quote that I get it online and stuff. So everything
mm,
starts with the heart. When the heart is at peace, the mind is at rest. When the heart is content, the mind gains insight, clarity, and wisdom. So can you elaborate a bit more what does that mean when you put that in a practice
yeah,
standpoint? Yeah.
Uh, I think it's something that probably all of us have experienced. It, when you're feeling very restless about something or very guilty about something, something isn't right. Your heart isn't allowing you to sleep at night, you know? Your conscience is pricking you or something like that. Or maybe it isn't something that I've done, but something that's happening around me that I don't feel okay about, you know? Then no matter what you do with your mind, you can try to calm your mind in so many ways, but this the stimulus is coming from your heart,
Mm,
and then your mind will be disturbed. So, or when your heart is very much at peace, you feel okay with things, you feel okay with yourself mostly, and you feel, then all of a sudden, in an automatic way, your mind isn't going to be so restless and coming up with so many. See, this is in meditation. This is in reference to the fact that in meditation, in so many methods of meditation, people try uh, in forceful ways to quiet their minds because everybody has this idea that meditation you're supposed to be thoughtless,
mm,
right?
mm,
So people use various methods to try to make sure that they're not thinking anything during meditation. And this idea is that unless you address the root causes of this mental disturbance, then it's going to be an artificial silence that you have in your mind.
mm,
That that silence is just going to be a kind of unintelligence. In the sense, you know what I mean? It's going to be a sort of dullness in your mind unless you address the roots of the restlessness which is causing so much unnecessary activity, right? So this idea of your heart being calm first means that's what this is about. Let's not try to go use artificial means to create an artificial quietude in your
mm,
mind. Let's try to actually create true peace where you're at the most essential level, where your heart is at peace, or true silence, where your heart, you don't feel as if you require anything. You're okay. You're content.
mm.
And
Okay.
then all of this noise all of a sudden won't disturb you as much.
So, Joshua, for us, the heart is now is an object, and what you
Mm.
have mentioned here probably is beyond that. So, what is the definition in the book itself that say about what is about the heart that we're referring to? How can it be described?
How can the heart be described?
Yeah, the like so the heart for us we know it as an object like this is a heart and but this have a few
Mhm.
of it accomplish a certain objective as what you have mentioned, right? So if you would
Mm.
to generalize it, how can we perceive this heart and what is the superpower out of it beside getting blood to our whole body systems?
Yes. Well, this is something we have to discover, that we will discover when we meditate, for sure. You'll see that on one sense it's allegorical in the sense that the heart is always you think of as the most essential part of something. You're going to the heart of the matter, right? You're going to the heart of yourself. That means you're going to the essence of yourself, right? Including the essence of yourself when you're trying to work upon yourself,
Hmm.
not just working upon the surface, not just transforming things at a surface level or merely changing your behavior, but your entire being is somehow being integrated together and manifesting or reflecting what you are at an essential level, you know?
Hmm.
So so that is number one. Number two, yes, actually the heart itself. When we meditate upon the heart, you have to place your attention somewhere, right? And in this meditation, you actually rest your mind on the physical location of your heart. You can try doing other things, you can try doing other things and meditating in other ways, and you're going to find that there's a different effect. So you'll be able to see for yourself that there's something about that.
Hmm.
Basically, the heart is where you feel things,
Hmm.
right? And and what we perceive through meditation ultimately comes in the form of feeling, right? And when we're talking about spirituality, especially, something that is higher than ourselves. Let's say that somebody believes in God, or somebody believes in something that they don't like to call God, but maybe they have a different word for it, right? But some sort of ultimate being, let's say somebody has a belief in that. Okay, belief is fine, but to actually be able to understand that, who can understand that? Nobody can understand that. And the reason is that the human mind is only able to understand things that are relative, right?
Hmm.
Human mind can understand things via comparison and in no other way. I can understand that something is high because I'm comparing it to something that's low. I can understand that something is small because I'm comparing it to something that's large.
Hmm.
So by comparison, by contrast,
Hmm.
I'm able to define things and say, yes, this is what it is.
Okay.
But without that ability to contrast, I'm not able to understand anything, right?
Hmm.
So I'm only able to understand, with my human mind, I'm only able to understand the relative.
Hmm.
I'm not able to understand. My mind will fail when it comes to understanding the absolute. An absolute, without something that's comparable to it, I won't be able to conceive of. But that's what everyone is talking about when they're talking about spirituality. They're talking about an absolute,
Hmm.
right? Something which is above comparison,
Yes.
which has no comparison, which is, if ancient texts, if you look at Lao Tzu, right? It is filled with this type of language that you're unable to understand this Tao, right? Or if you look at the ancient the Shastras or the Vedas in Indian texts, they say is neither real nor unreal. Now, what sort of thing? What would the logical mind say to that? Neither real nor unreal,
Hmm.
neither dark nor light.
Hmm.
Okay, so whenever you're going into spirituality, you're now dealing with absolutes, which defeat the human mind's ability to comprehend anything at all.
Hmm. Okay. Thanks.
Now the only thing we can rely on is something else, another sense.
Mm.
So it begins with feeling.
Mm.
And therefore we have to use the heart to approach this subject of
Mm.
spirituality. Because the heart is what feels things. It's like it says in the book, you don't use your knees to feel, or you don't feel things in your liver or with the tip of your nose. When you say, I love you, you put your hands on your heart. You know, when you make a promise to somebody, you put your hand on your heart.
Mm.
Very intuitively, we understand that that's where we feel things. And by meditating upon the heart, then that's when the door of spirituality starts to open. When we first be able to get a sense of that thing in which maybe religion had taught us to believe in before, but which never transcended that level of belief into actual experience.
Mm. Okay.
So
And Joshua, I think that's a very good elaboration, and the third part of your book mentioned about the guru, and then one of the things I love about this one is that I always think to myself um, the best answer is actually came from the best questions. And I believe that initially when you mentioned about someone need to write the book, and the someone so coincidentally is reached out to me, and because you have the question in your mind, but Daji is the one that fill in the blank for you, and that brings it to
it's
you.
true.
And then the guru here, you have this quote about the guru does find the seeker is with the guru during the spiritual practice, being guided, being aided, but it is the seeker who has to work for his spiritual progress. I think that is fairly interesting. What's the message that you wanted to bring here when you talk about the guru, and also the good questions that people should ask ourselves in order to find the contrast that you mentioned about.
This entire journey is something which starts with you and ends with you. These days, I think, especially because of this virus, right?
Mm,
This virus is there and it's exacting destruction and death around the world. And nobody knows how far this will go, right? And I think, a lot of people are, probably a lot of people are all of a sudden facing the ideas of death and, their own mortality where they probably weren't doing that before, you know. I think when people often have the fear of, not the fear of death, but the fear of what they will face in, an afterlife, let's say. Many people also have this, or this wonder or question about it. I think actually, this is just my opinion, only my opinion. This has nothing to do with heartfulness or anything like that. But my opinion is that this really reflects my degree of comfort with myself. You know, what this question of what will become of me, I think reflects is more of a question, if you really analyze it, of have I done with my life what I've really meant to have done, or have I
mm,
fulfilled these possibilities? Have I fulfilled this promise? Have I fulfilled, the purpose? Some people might phrase it in such a way, have I fulfilled the purpose for which I was born? Or somebody might say, have I fulfilled the potential that I came with?
mm,
And what is that potential? What does that mean? Does that mean achievement in a material way? I mean, there's nothing wrong with material achievement.
mm,
I'm not implying that. But what does it mean? You know, and I think that maybe people are asking some of these questions, and I think that when I analyze it for myself, the feelings that come as a result of all of this atmosphere around us now, it makes me ask myself if I'm really being absolutely the best person that I can be.
mm,
And are there parts of myself which dis which which dislike people? And why do I have the right to dislike somebody? Do I even understand that person, who they are, to be able to form such a conclusion about them? Or is my dislike for that person based upon the fact that I have not even tried to understand where they're coming from or their background or anything, right? So there are many things I think that we can learn from this period of time, and we can all become better people for it. And I think meditation is a really, really great tool for becoming a better person, because it helps us integrate ourselves, you know? It helps us integrate ourselves where, you know, it won't just be as I said earlier, a surface level thing where I'm trying to become good.
Okay.
You know, that's not authentic. It's a good idea, but so there has to be some urge from within, a pressure from within. It's funny that meditation is all about peace, but it really all starts from inner pressure.
Mm.
That I have to do something. There's sort of desperation.
Yeah. And Joshua, pressure is good. Because of pressure, we're still alive. And that's what the heart is
Yeah.
meant for. And just now you touch a bit of do we done enough in this life? It is what you've been meant for. And I want to ask you the next question before we move on to the second result is this. And I really love how your thinking thought on this one. What will be the significant change that you are seeing in yourself, or you are interpreting from the people around you, that change, that significant change, and that for example you mentioned about, are you change become better, are you change become different, are you change become more successful? What kind of significant change that you are seeing yourself after doing after the Heartfulness way?
I think the most important thing is that we keep moving one step after the other on this path. Okay. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm just saying the most important thing is that this is an endless path. When you look at it in a way that it's about, you know, fulfilling what my possibility is, or somehow truly reflecting what my essence is. If a person believes that their essence is actually divine, then how are you then this path must be an infinite path if you're really going to live up to that, you know? And so the thing here is that if it's endless, that we're constantly moving in the right direction. That's what this is about. Constantly moving in the right direction. So there won't be a time when you finally can say, aha, I've made it. I got there. I transformed myself. Now I can just relax. That time I don't believe will ever come. But in this continuous movement and evolution, then I think that we're safe in a way. Then we're going in the right direction, you know? And so as long as you're moving in that direction, you're going to find things which are improving about yourself. Now, for me, what does that mean? You're asking me a personal question, sort of. For me, that means that I become very sensitive to the ways. See, that I think that you won't need a global pandemic to spur you in the right direction, right? When you're sensitizing yourself to your heart, as you do when you meditate on the heart, then you won't need a global pandemic and deaths in the family and all kinds of things like that to make you start feeling this inner pressure to become the best, you know, that you can be. Your heart itself, which is where you feel what's your conscience? Your heart is your conscience. The voice of your heart is the voice of your conscience. And any small thing is going to tell you, change yourself. Your heart is constantly going to be telling you, change yourself. Do this differently. do that differently. And you're going to feel it. Sometimes we think it's a very small voice, and it's so small that we can easily ignore it. But I think the more you meditate, the larger, the louder that voice becomes, and the more insistent it becomes. And the more pressure we're going to feel. But having followed that, and actually decide, because we have free will. It isn't as if you meditate and all of a sudden you're going to be changed. Because I meditated, I changed. No. Because I meditate, now I understand. I'm getting the direct messages from my heart that this is how you change. This is what you have to do. It's very clear. And then I have the free will to be able to do it or not. Right? And if I follow that, the feeling that's going to come from that, the positive reinforcement that I get from that is absolutely such peace, such contentment, such lightness. Whereas before I felt pressure, and before I even felt the pressure, I felt heaviness, right? Maybe I didn't even feel the heaviness. Often we're just so used to it, we don't feel it. They talk about the straw, they have this expression, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Where you add one more piece of straw to this load, and all of a sudden the camel's back breaks. But here it's the opposite, where you're removing pieces of straw, right? And after removing so many pieces of your straw, then all of a sudden you feel lightness. You didn't know that you had heaviness before, but now you have lightness. So what can you conclude?
Okay.
That you were carrying a burden.
I wanted to touch about this thing. You mentioned about the constant move in the right direction. This is, and I think we spoke about this about change. You mentioned about change is a choice. It's a choice. So so you can meditate, but even though you meditate for 100 years, but there is no seed inside you that mentioned about you wanted to change, I think that doesn't work. And you related a bit on the experience. What can you elaborate more about the change as a choice and the experience itself?
They're all interrelated. You have what I'm saying is that your heart will speak to you when you meditate. And having, now that the heart has spoken to you, now you have the knowledge, what do I have to do with myself?
Okay.
And at this point, of course, is where you can follow that or not. There's a line in the book where my teacher told me, it's easy to wake up somebody who's asleep, right? But it's impossible to wake up somebody who's only pretending to sleep.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Right?
very good,
Because
very
they're not
good.
actually asleep. You can't wake them up. They're pretending. Same way, once we gain awareness, right? Now we have to, then we can no longer pretend to be asleep.
Okay.
That's all it means.
All right. So when we talk about experience, this is one of the thought that we have rather than doing this and instead of that in this one, this is the thing we want to do as well. And
Yes.
we want to say that how would it be good if you can share a bit of the tips, just start up
Yeah.
tips like to those that are here. I believe that some are meditator and some do practice. The best way to aware after to learn is to experience it by ourselves. So would you
Well,
share a bit?
why don't I
Let-
help you
Can we do
experience
that? Yeah,
something?
okay, let's do it. Yeah.
We have another almost 30 minutes, right?
Just go ahead. I think we have another 20 minutes each, but as much time that we
Okay.
need, and then you
Well,
can do so
we
that we
won't
can have
meditate till
some time for the Q&A. Yep.
Okay, so first thing, let me just briefly explain how we meditate, and then I'll walk you through a short session. Not a very long session, maybe 12, 15-minute session of meditation, right? And yeah, so let me explain how we do it first. If for some reason the power goes out, somebody like Lakshmi or somebody can take over and
Last me or
explain how to
Ramesh.
do it.
Okay. Yeah, last me or
Yeah,
Ramesh.
Ramesh is there, yes. Okay. So here we go. So what happens is that here we're meditating on the heart. We're not just meditating on the heart, but there's an idea, an assumption that we have going into this. And this assumption is that there is light in the heart, light from our source within. That is our assumption. Okay? So that is our object of meditation, that there is light from our inner source, is there present in the heart. And what do we do with this idea? Do we think these words over and over and over again in order to stay with it? No, we do not. It is not a mantra that we repeat again and again and again. It's nothing like that. So what do we do? Do we try to close our eyes and visualize some kind of light in the heart? Again, this is not what we do. This is not light that you can see. This is a light, as I said earlier, that you can only feel. And that's why we're using the heart for meditation. So, all that we do is when we begin, we make the sort of, we can say a suggestion to ourselves that this light is present within my heart. This light from my inner source. Or you can put it another way. You can say, the source of light is present in my heart. And now what do? Now you put your attention in a very gentle way on your heart. Your heart, you can take that to mean your whole chest area. And now you simply wait in a very patient and relaxed manner. You wait to see what kind of experience naturally starts to emerge over the course of your meditation, and especially by the end of your meditation. So we are not looking to create an experience. I'm not looking to do anything artificial, but rather I'm just waiting and silently witnessing what I feel over the course of meditation, this subtle feeling that emerges. And that is all that I'm doing. A very simple thing. People sometimes have the idea, what about my thoughts? Because everyone has the idea that in meditation you have to control your mind. But that is not what we do here. Your mind eventually, as you practice for some time, some months or something, will automatically become regulated and smooth. Also, all that's happening now, when your thoughts come, it's okay that they're there. You accept that they're there. Don't entertain them too much. Don't start saying, okay, now I'm going to plan my week. I'm going to plan my next 5 years. But you just let them be there and you let them go also. With your attention mainly focused on your heart, your thoughts will be like background noise. Okay, I hope this is clear. So what I will now do is I will verbally guide you into this meditation for a few minutes. I'll tell you to relax this part of your body, that part of your body, and finally get you to start meditating. And then we'll meditate silently for about 10 minutes, and I'll tell you when it's finished. If for some reason, as I said, I lose the internet again, you just keep going. Okay? So please close your eyes. Very gently and softly. Actually, I'll say if I lose my connection again when I'm doing this guided meditation, one of the other trainers here, maybe I'll request you to take over.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Joshua, no problem.
Yes, thank you. Okay, please close your eyes very gently, softly. Bring your attention to your toes. You can move your toes and relax them. You can even imagine that there is a healing current of energy entering through the bottom of your feet from Mother Earth. From Mother Earth, this healing current of energy enters through the soles of your feet and relaxes your feet. Its energy now moves up your legs ever so slowly, relaxing every muscle as it moves, relaxing your lower legs, and let your knees relax. Its energy moves up your legs, relaxing your thighs, let your hips relax deeply. Please relax your abdominal muscles. And relax all the muscles of your chest. Let your whole back relax, top to bottom. And relax your shoulders. Let them feel like they're melting. They're so relaxed. Relax your upper arms, tricep muscles, bicep muscles. Relax your elbows and all the muscles of your forearms. Relax your wrists and hands, your fingers, fingertips. You can even feel that energy flowing out from your fingertips. Now becoming aware of your neck muscles. Relax your neck, your throat. Let your jaws relax. Relax your mouth and all the muscles of your face. There be a lot of softness around your eyes which are so gently and softly closed. Relax your forehead. Your temples. Relax your ears and earlobes. And all the way to the crown of your head. Now you can become aware of your entire body, which is in such a state of relaxation. But if there's any place which still requires more relaxation, or any place which feels unwell, then feel that energy from Mother Earth infusing that area, that part of your body, and feel that place relax. Or become well. Now, gently center your attention in your heart. Your heart, where the source of light is already present. And this light is very naturally and spontaneously drawing your attention inward toward the core of your heart. And with your awareness settled on your heart, now you just witness how you feel. And like this, please continue meditation. That's all. Now, please just take one moment and remain with your eyes closed and observe how you feel now that meditation is over. And gradually you come out of meditation. And open your eyes, but still feel as if you're meditating, though your eyes are open. Remain in touch with your inner feeling. Okay. So, Billy, anybody there?
Yeah, I'm here, brother.
Still here. Okay, Joshua.
Billy should be.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm still in the Zen mode.
Yeah, I thought.
Okay. All right. That's the good experience, at least for me. A very different one, and very good methods to have the first initially to withdraw all those pain, all those stress that we have had, and move gradually to the meditation. I think that is a good way. Yeah. And for those people are still with us, we are a bit we already up to the hours, but I wanted to have a surprise at the end of this session. But before that, probably we spend that 10 minutes, Joshua, to get question from the audience to see if they have any burning questions. Either it's related to the meditation experience that we have had or about the book. You guys can start asking questions to Joshua. Yeah, if you need to speak, you just unmute yourself and then tell your name and then you can go ahead and ask the questions.
Hey Joshua, this is Bunyan. Thank you for the session, and I really appreciate that. One question from me is that is there anything that we need to do with to breathe differently? Is there
Mm.
or
It's a
just a
good,
normal day-to-day breathing method?
it's a good question. Now, there's nothing special that you need to do in terms of your breathing. Sometimes you probably, my guess is that you're asking this question because there are other methods of meditation where you focus upon your breath or you try to change your breathing pattern in some way. The idea being that by calming or lengthening your breathing, that your mind will calm down. That's probably the idea behind it. But here we find it works the other way around too, that your breathing adjusts itself to your natural activity, right? If you're running, your breathing will adjust itself. If you're sleeping, your breathing will adjust itself. And similarly, when you're in a meditative state, your breathing will slow down on its own without you having to try to make it slow down. So,
Yep, that is very true because initially I was like, I can feel that it's heavy breathing. And then over time, or in fact, for the first maybe 5 minutes, but later, yeah, I can actually feel that it's different. I don't
yeah,
really have to put in effort to calm it down or slow it down or whatsoever.
it's absolutely natural. It will happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Yes,
do
thank
I
you.
do see a difference.
Wonderful.
By the way, this is the first time that I'm doing that. So
Well,
it's a totally good experience for me.
I'm
A very
happy.
useful one.
Thank you. You know, you can do it more. There's
Is there?
yes, Intel, they're having meetings every, and I guess now they're also,
Thursday.
virtual meetings every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. I suppose that's Malaysia time.
Mm.
Yeah, every 5 to 6 p.m. Malaysia time on Thursdays. Venue is PG12 Intel. That's the normal venue, I guess. So, so yeah, so you can actually continue this, and there is a value towards doing this with others, and rather than, I mean, it's good to do this on your own, but there's a little bit more to the method than what I've just explained to you and what we've just done. So the ideal way would be to connect with one of the trainers here, which you can probably do through those meetings, and really learn the practice so you can be benefited by it.
Another question. Is there a specific time in a day that we should do that? Or, it doesn't matter?
Well, the ancients always suggested that the time just before dawn is very conducive to meditation. That's been the tradition over millennia. Now, is it true? I think this is something you can try and see for yourself. If there's a difference, if you meditate at 9 o'clock a.m. versus meditating, let's say, before the sun has come up, you can try and see what the effect is and see if they're right.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thanks,
Sure.
William, for the question. All right, seems that this probably for me the experience is a bit different, even though I've been doing that for quite some time. This is like I say, this is not something that you teach, that you read, but this is something that you do. People says that I want to be motivated. I wanted to be have focus. Focus is not something that we have. Focus is something that we do. Motivation is not something that we have, but something that we do to get motivated. As well as meditation, I believe it goes the same way as well. So,
Very true.
if there else have any questions regarding to the experience or the book from Eddie, okay. And the last one before we part, and all this success and all this information that I gain, the team members over here gain, and everyone there, the value they want to bring to you, and hope that it make some change to you, and also look forward to our 10 book club sharing that happens every month. We are still committed to do it every month, and we want to bring in interesting speakers, interesting topics that we wanted to share, we wanted to learn together every first Monday of the month at 10 a.m. So we are going to do that until throughout the 2020, even though we have this virus thing or whatever stuff happening, that will not change. And I also hope that there is a certain change to a better you, and it'll be much more successful than the place that we have previously. Okay, and thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Lashmi, and thank you for the
Thank
guys
you.
calling in on this Monday morning. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.